Hi everyone, let's talk about section 0.5 on exponents and radicals. And let's go over these various laws for exponents and radicals. Now, you won't have to write out a sheet of paper and list out all these laws from memory. It's more a matter of know them when you see them. If you see the left side, be able to write down the right side and vice versa. Know what's equivalent, know what works, and also know what doesn't necessarily work. So let's take a look at some laws. All right. First of all, what happens when you multiply powers of x? What is x to the second times x to the third? Or x squared times x cubed? Well, what is x squared? If you were to ask an algebra student, what is x squared? What might the algebra student say? That x squared is x times x. Now, if you ask the algebra student, well, what's x cubed? Or x to the third? The algebra student may say, well, that's x times x times x. So then when you multiply all these together, you get x to the what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get x to the fifth, not x to the sixth. It's a common mistake. You get x to the sixth. Sorry, x to the fifth. Almost made that mistake. X to the fifth. When you multiply powers of x, you add the exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. You don't multiply them. And that takes us to law number 1. We're assuming these are all real valued. To multiply powers of x, you add the exponents. For example, x to the second times x to the third is x to the fifth. In general, x to the m times x to the n is x to the m plus n. Now what happens when you divide powers of x? Well, let's take this original statement over here, all right? And let's start by turning it around. Okay, so I'm going to put the x, I'm going to put the x to the fifth on the left, and I'm going to put the x squared times x to the third over on the right. You can always switch around a minus sign. So x to the fifth equals x to the second times x to the third. Now I should copy this down in the next step, but let's make this fast. All right, let's divide both sides by x to the third. Let's divide both sides by x to the third. Don't write a big fraction bar, by the way. You should never put a fraction bar under an equal sign. All right. So now, what is x to the fifth divided by x to the third? Well, what happens on the right side? X to the third divided by x to the third? Well, that is just going to be 1. Technically, we should put a 1 up here and a 1 down here. We want to indicate what's left. Okay. All right. So we have x squared times 1 divided by 1. Bottom line is we have x squared. So x to the fifth over x to the third equals x to the second. Again, I should write this as a separate step. But look at this. When you divide powers of x, what do? It looks like you subtract the exponents. 5 minus 3 is 2. There's another way of looking at this. Okay, what is x to the fifth? What is x to the fifth? It's x times x times x times x times x. Fraction bar. What's x to the third? Down here. That's going to be x times x times x. Right. What happens when you have 5 x's over 3 x's? Okay. And we're multiplying up here and down here. Well, we get a bunch of cancellations. So x divided by x is 1. I'll just put 1s here. X divided by x is 1. X divided by x is 1. X times x is x squared. All right. In general, to divide powers of x, you subtract the exponents. X to the m over x to the n equals x to the m minus n.